It's just me, Emily. Welcome to my show where we explore how to discover your soul's purpose, embody your essence, and live a life in alignment with your truth. Today, I am joined by the one and only Barbara Bingham. She is a famous actress starring in TV shows like Hawaii Five-O and famous horror movies like Friday the 13th. She is also a corporate actor and has gotten into writing, producing, and starring in her own full length films. I met Barbara because she is my late husband's aunt, and she has been such an incredible support of myself and my kids and just our family all the way since Ian, originally got diagnosed with cancer until now. We have a wonderful relationship even after Ian has passed away since his death, which is not always the case. I'm grateful to have her in my life. She is the person who has helped me venture into the spirit world in terms of connecting to Ian from beyond the veil. I think she is the person who gifted me my first session with a medium. So I'm so excited to welcome her to the show to explore how she started out as an actress, what is her purpose, and how Ian has actually guided her into the most recent iteration of her purpose and work as an actress in her late 60s. So I hope you guys enjoy the show. All right. Welcome, Auntie Barbara. I'm so happy to have you on the show. Um, Thank you again for just all of the love and support and encouragement that you have shown myself and my family, after Ian's passing from just, showing up across the country. You're all the way in Australia and visiting us, right? And then
Yeah.
just, helping me follow my dream of doing this.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure, Emily, and yeah, I mean, it makes me so happy.
Yeah. Well, we're going to dive into all things Ian and, how he has left a massive impact on both of our lives a little bit later in the show. But
Okay.
I want to get started by asking you, because I ask this to everyone, what are the masks that you wear? And when you take them off, what do you see?
Mm. I'm a professional actor, so masks is that's my armor, right? Like, that's
Mhm.
I can be anybody you want me to be, right? Okay, yes, I'll be that person for you. Um,
Mm.
so when the mask gets pulled off, there is someone who, um really wants to honor Barb
Mm.
and, um, show up for her and make her and back her 100%.
Yeah. I would imagine that in acting, it's like it's such a professional, like, go-to thing to just put that mask on and to play that role.
Mm.
And so do you see that, kind of tendency slipping into your personal life as well?
Well, it's funny because, um, I am a naturally upbeat, optimistic person, right? And
Mhm.
there are I have been accused of in the past of just putting on this face of being positive and, no one's that happy all the time. But I am I'm a pretty happy person for the most part. So, but yes, look, it's an easy defense, right?
Yeah.
Put on the mask.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mhm.
And so, who is, like, Barbara in her most authentic expression of self?
She is she is the eternal optimist.
Mm.
Will always find the good in everyone, everything. Um, the universe has her back, right?
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
that's that's what's always there, always.
Yep. That's your constant.
Yeah,
I love that. I resonate with that a lot too.
yeah, yeah, right, right.
Yeah, and, like, knowing when that optimism is also, like, the bypassing of
Absolutely,
you know,
absolutely. Yep,
so learn to grow aware of that for sure.
yeah.
So, I wanna start off too a little bit around your career in acting.
Mm.
It seems that you got started at kind of a younger age. Um, how did you know that this was your calling?
Yeah, it's funny when I did musicals all through high school, and always had the lead roles and center stage. That's what made me happiest. So I went off to college uh, to do musical theater, and they kept putting me in the back, and it was like, but wait. No, I'm in the, and they're like, no, you're not. You can't sing and you can't dance. So, like, no, you're going back there. So I quit college and I thought, okay, well, I'll just do acting, whatever. And I got a role on Hawaii Five O, the original Hawaii Five O with Jack Lord. And I was standing on the great, big, huge soundstage at Diamond Head. And, all the bustling people all doing their jobs. And it was like this bolt of lightning came down through my body and back out again. And I went, oh, this is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay." Then and that was it. There was never any question from that point on.
Wow. That's so cool because, I've explored purpose a lot, especially after Ian died and, trying to figure out what my purpose was after his loss. And I feel like we all go about it in different ways.
Yeah.
Mine was like the breakdown to the breakthrough,
Yes.
or going through an obstacle that then became my purpose. Yours was very much like having this innate talent
Mm.
and connecting to it, it sounds like,
Yeah.
by just being in a situation where it was like that lightning bolt moment. But even then, you know, I'm sure people were like, "Yeah, right, Barbara. Like, you wanna be an actress? That's 1 in a million."
Oh,
Did
100%.
you
Oh,
come
yeah.
up
Oh, even
against that?
when I moved to LA, it was my brother who when I came home at Christmas, it was like, "Okay, so when are you gonna start, move home because, this whole dream thing." It was like, "No, this is it." So, yeah, and it's kind of been that I'm, 67 years old now, and it's still that way in my career. Like, um, "Don't you wanna relax, Barb? Like, don't you wanna sit back and travel?" And like, "Nope."
Yeah.
If I could
I love
remove the
it.
chip that makes me wanna be an actor, I'd have the chip removed, but it is buried deep.
It's there. So you got this chip, you got this drive, this fire that's like, "I'm gonna be an actress no matter what." And, so when, like, you heard those naysayers, like, from your brother, which is funny because I know him, um, like, it doesn't sound like it really got you down, you
No.
just kind of were, like, committed.
No, totally committed.
Okay.
Yeah. And look, there were so many times when, I didn't get work or I had gone 6 months without booking anything. And mom would go, "Oh, you sure you don't want to come home to Hawaii?" It's like, "No, I don't want to come home." So, yeah, I mean, it was, yeah, it just always was. It's there as an actor.
That's so cool because I feel like it's so easy to get beat down by what other people think or by our own insecurities and fears and, judgments when we do get that rejection and failure. So that was just never a thing. You just kind of were like, this is it, and I'm going to plow right through.
Yeah. Look, I've had so many friends that have left the business, and I have never entertained leaving the business.
Yeah.
It's just
It's It's just the way.
yeah.
That is so cool. I wish I had that, like, I could save myself so much time and energy if I was just like, "This is it." I just feel it in, like, every cell of my body. Because the time that I spend being like, "Oh, wait, well, maybe the universe is guiding me this way."
Yeah, is this a sign I should be quitting? Oh, maybe it is. Yeah.
Exactly, and you've just never had that.
Well, I mean, look, I did take a very large break when Sam was
Okay,
born, right? So,
okay,
all of
yes.
a sudden, I'm a late mother at 38, and we're in Australia, and I have no support system. we know like 2 people here. So
Yeah.
it was like, okay, well, I guess I'll be a full-time mom. So that really, um, it was a choice I made, but it was fine because I knew kinda it was always gonna be there, like it wasn't going anywhere, right?
Yeah. That takes an incredible amount of faith, I feel like, and knowing and trust just in yourself, to let go of those opportunities. Because I actually had this as a question, like, life kinda happened,
Yep,
you had this, like, flourishing acting career,
yep,
you fell in love, you got married, you had a baby, and you let go of that.
yep.
So can you tell us a little bit about, first of all, like, what were some of the roles that you were doing, and what was your life like, and what was it like to walk away from that career in acting at that time?
Yeah, look, it was, this we're talking about the late '80s, early '90s, and I was just starting to get nice roles in movies. I got, Friday the 13th, which was a fun horror franchise to be in, and shot for 2 months in Canada and hung out with Kelly, when I was up there. And then I got the lead um in a like a detective thriller thing that we shot in Santo Domingo, and then I got another lead in a movie that was shot in Louisiana. So I was traveling, and even though, I was dating Bill at the time, I was going from LA to Santo Domingo to Miami to New Orleans to and had this really fantastic career. Um and and then yeah, it was a choice we made to move, and I felt like I was ready to be a full-time mom because I had had my career for 17 years. So
Mhm.
I was pretty happy, right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so it was just like a easy, like, "Alright, we're just gonna go. This is where the universe is guiding me." Were you spiritual at the time, or
Oh,
was it just
very.
like
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I've always been, always been. Um, I started meditating and doing yoga with Rod Stryker back in 1979,
OG.
in LA. Yeah, he is the original great. And I, I would credit Rod with keeping me sane in the business.
Mhm.
He
Yeah.
he really he changed my life, honestly. And I still meditate every day to this day. And
Yeah.
so I think it's connecting to something larger than us that is what has kept me so grounded.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit because I on this podcast I talk about the kind of like the ego self and the soul self, right? And I would imagine being in a business like acting
Mhm.
where it's like the fame and, fans and all these things that probably just feel so good for your ego.
So
And
good.
so how what were some of those practices for grounding and staying centered and not allowing your career to feed kind of that hungry ghost that empty part of us is just, like, wanting self-worth and to be acknowledged and loved.
Yeah, look, it's knowing, it's like going back to the witness when you're meditating, and that
Mhm.
witness never changes. That is the constant in our lives, um, and as fun as it is to hang out with fans and tell them, and hear how you've impacted their lives and how much they love you, and people tell you you're great and la 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 la. Um, it's that only feeds the ego. That does not, when I put my head on the pillow at night, that's not what, I'm proud of. I'm proud of being a stellar human being, and,
Mhm.
not not that external stuff.
That's amazing. Do you feel like you had like, was that sense of self and center and, like, core values something that was talked about in your family, or did you kind of
No.
find that, like, later on in your
Yeah,
journey?
no, it was definitely meditating with Rod, and
Okay.
yeah, yep. And he led these beautiful classes on Saturday mornings with a group we meditated together, and then we did one-on-one meditations together that he'd give me sort of a recipe for the month of, what to focus on. So Yeah, no, that was in my 20s, that was really my journey.
Okay. And what brought you to that? I know for me, my spiritual journey really began after Ian died because I was just looking for in a way, there's some parallel, Move Through kind of took off and I got a semi large, following and like the book deal and all these like really cool things.
Yep.
But after that happened, I was like, but wait, like, why do I still feel kind of empty?
Mm.
And that my therapist then encouraged me to start really diving into spirituality.
Yep,
And that just changed everything.
it
So, did you have a similar experience or what was yours like?
No, I think it was just living in LA and and the funny story about Rod is that we met in college, and I only knew him for a little bit, and I was working in a restaurant in Beverly Hills as a hostess, and he walked in. I said, "What are you doing here?" "Ah." He said, "I work here." And I said, "What do you mean you work here?" He says, "Well, I'm waiting tables." It's like, "Oh my god." I don't 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, he calls my roommate to cover a shift for him and says and I said, "Well, she's not here, but I can tell you." And he says, "Well, look, I'm starting a yoga class. Would you like to come?" And I, "Sure, I'll come." So he was kind of divinely guided to me. Like
Yeah.
he, m- meeting him in San Diego, re-meeting him in LA, and then starting yoga with him. Like honestly, he, we were meant to be.
Mm.
Really were. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was kinda like this angel, or that's what's coming up for me, like this angel who's, like, sent to you in this where, your path could have looked very different than
Oh,
it did today, right?
yeah,
I mean
yeah, totally. I mean, I could be in a loony bin, like and all my friends have not survived the business. I have
Yeah.
one girlfriend who's still in it, but everybody else just said, "Can't take the rejection, can't take the people, can't take it, can't take it, can't take it."
Wow. So would you say that your spiritual practice was something that really helped you just in terms of longevity as an actress?
1,000%. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah, and then you end up drawing people and collaborating with people that are vibrating on the same
Yeah.
level, right? Like I just
Yeah.
I just don't work with jerks, like they're not in my orbit. So,
It's so true. When you
mm,
raise your frequency, it just magnetizes other people who are, with you, and it's like, yeah, you just kinda don't tolerate, other people who are gonna, bring you down or
yeah,
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 I love
yeah,
love that.
yeah.
Well, so I speaking of divine guidance,
Yes.
let's talk about Ian.
Yay! Yeah, look,
So
yeah. And
go
he
ahead.
he is the reason for the resurgence of my career.
Mm,
He is so responsible in his death
yeah.
for me taking charge and doing stuff, and he's helping every step of the way.
I love this, and I wanna, dive into detail, so because I know the story,
Yeah,
but I want us to I'd love to hear you share it with everyone else, but first of all, I wanna just go back to, that time,
yeah.
and I mean, you were so a part of Ian's whole passing and that time in
Mm.
hospice and just right there on the front lines helping us, what was that like for you? I feel like I was so focused on my experience, but what was it like
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah, look, I mean, God, it was so hard, and I think, seeing this beautiful, handsome man turn
Mhm.
into, the dilapidation of cancer, was just
Yeah.
so heartbreaking. And then you'd see every single person walk into his room and then turn around and walk out in tears because they just couldn't handle the way he
Mhm.
looked, right? And um and I think it would have been different, Emily, if Ian was embracing dying,
Mhm.
but he was pretending like wow, all of my friends all have spring break on the same week. Like, isn't that amazing, Annie Barbara? It's like, yeah, Ian, it's amazing.
I know. Yeah, he did not want to accept that this was his reality.
He
The
didn't.
end.
And fair enough. He had a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a beautiful wife. I would given the same circumstances, I probably wouldn't have wanted to accept it either, right? And it was
Yeah,
hard for the family to accept it. It was your dad who finally sat us all down and said, "He's dying,"
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And,
yeah, and I, like, hated him for saying that,
I
but
know,
it was true.
but it saved us too, and my brother,
Yeah,
going, "No, we shouldn't be jumping to conclusions," and it's like, "Well, look," all you gotta do is look at him and know. So, it I think for the family coming together, for Leslie and for Eric and for Kara, and it was it was an amazing time, um,
mhm,
to celebrate this beautiful, beautiful man who was so loved. you
mhm.
know? And I'm so proud to be his Auntie Barbara. And every single friend of his that would walk in to Mel and Skip's house would go, "Hey, I'm Ian's best friend now. Hey, I'm Ian's best." And it's like, but oh, you're a best. Oh, it's like, oh, Ian's got a lot of best friends. Okay, got it. And, and that's who he was.
Yeah, I know. It was beautiful to have all of the support and the love there for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Life can get hella complicated. We chase success, we hustle for money, we strive to make an impact. We juggle the day to day responsibilities, and we try to make everyone else around us happy. But at the end of the day, does any of this actually matter? I can't answer that question for you because what truly matters is different for everyone. There is no formula, no blueprint, no checklist for a life well lived. But the one thing we all share is a limited amount of time to live it. And that's why I think facing your mortality is the key to unlocking a life that truly matters. Death is a mirror. When you confront the fact that this all ends, the noise fades away. The ego driven shoulds, the societal pressures, and the endless to do lists suddenly don't seem so important because facing your mortality isn't about fear. It's about freedom. It's about waking up, cutting through the distractions, and making choices that actually align with your soul. That's why I created YOLO, a 3-part transformational experience designed to help you engage with your mortality so that you can actually start living. You only live once. Are you ready to make the most of it? If so, head to the link in my show notes or go to www.IamEmilyBingham.com/YOLO. I know you've been through other losses, but how did Ian's death affect you? Like, how would you say, or did it affect you in different ways? Did it shape who you are now?
Yeah, look, and I'll give context for the listeners and viewers because, um, when I knew I had to fly back to Sydney, so it was my last night at Lanikai, and I was
And
in
Lonnie Kai's where he
Lanikai's,
passed away.
yeah, the
Yeah.
the house where he passed, and I knew when I said goodbye to him, it was gonna be the last time that I was
Yeah.
ever gonna see him. And I was sitting in the room and it was dark. And he said, Annie Barbara, it feels like your career is just getting started. And I went, "Oh, Ian, God, from your lips," because I had just gone back to modeling. I had started this corporate role play company. Um, and there were other things bubbling. So anyway, and I said, "Oh, from your lips, Ian." And he said, "Oh, no." And he put his head back and he closed his eyes and he said, "I'll be watching, Annie Barbara. I'll be watching."
Mm.
And honestly, I left there and it was like it was he'd given me a mission because I have to give him stuff to watch. And I went home and I contacted Enzo Tedeschi, who was, who is my collaborator now, but I didn't even know him. I had met him once and said, I have an idea for a short film. Can I run it by you? He called, he said, can I direct it? And within, I don't know, 6 months, we were shooting this short film that we then have now developed into a feature film, and it's all because of Ian. Like, Ian did it, and I know Ian is helping every single step of the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know it.
So he gave you the divine assignment
He did.
and you went home with this idea and just said, "All right, let's do it."
Yeah, wrote my first script, never written a script before. Yeah.
What are some of the ways that you feel like what are some of the signs and the signals that you've received from Ian that you so that you know that he's, like, still there and guiding you?
Yeah, look, he is every day, but in the early days after his death, um, it like, even, when we were in pre-production for the short film, and there were 5 of us that walked out. It was the director and the DP and myself and the producer and the art director, and we walked out onto my balcony, and we have a view of this big valley, and 5 black cockatoos, which are so rare, and I've lived in this house for, I don't know, 15 years, never had it happen before
Mm,
or after.
wow.
We all walked out to the balcony, and these 5 black cockatoos just did this little dance in front of us, and everyone's going, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god," and then they were gone. And
Yeah.
it was like, "Well, that's Ian. That's Ian saying, 'Guys, you got this. You got this.'"
That's so good.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, and there's just like, yeah, he's just part of my everyday.
You just feel him, like, that presence.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I'll just ask for guidance, and I just get this, like, sense that he's there. It's like a clairsentient type,
Yep.
like, I feel it, like, in my skin, like, we all
Mhm.
have different ways of kind of connecting to the spirit world, and thank you so much because you were, like, the person who opened me up to the idea of connecting to deceased loved ones.
Yeah,
Like,
great.
I was like, "What? What, Auntie Barbara? You got me a session with a medium? Like, okay, I don't know if I wanna do that."
Yeah, but how amazing was she, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think if there's any what has been your experience in talking with mediums
Oh,
or to
like,
connect to Ian or to other deceased loved ones?
yeah, look, I the because Ian died, well, my parents had died before Ian, um, and then after Ian, my sister's husband, Jerry, who she'd been married to for 50 years, died. So,
Yeah.
whenever I'm talk to a medium now, it's like, "There's a lot of guys over there." It's like, "Yeah, I know." There's my dad, there's Ian, there's Jerry. So, yeah, and, but yeah, it's I love mediums. I think I personally think that they are talking to us all day, every day,
Mhm.
and we get just a fragment every once in a while. And
Yeah.
it's just being able to tune in. And I think there'd be just this rush of voices that we'd hear if the tune was right.
Well, and I think it is. I mean, I had a, interview with a medium who's also gonna be on the show,
Yeah,
and she talked about how so much of it is just clearing our vessel, to and really just getting the mind out of the way so that we can be open to actually listen.
yeah.
'Cause you're right, I think that they probably are communicating all of the time. I'm reading a book on a woman who had a near-death experience
Mm.
where she literally, like, her spirit left her body, and she could, like, see the doctors, like, telling her family that she had died, and she's like, "No, I'm right here."
Oh, I got
And
goosebumps. Ah.
she actually goes back into her body, to tell the story, and it's a book called Dying to Be Me, that talks about this whole experience,
Mm.
but yeah, I mean, the idea that that consciousness, that energy, it's their spirit is still somewhere here.
Yeah, and from seeing Ian after he died and anybody who's been with a somebody after they die,
Mhm.
when the spirit is gone,
Yeah.
it is a vessel. It is not them. It is a housing, and
Mhm.
it's it's mind-blowing because I saw it with my mother. It's mind-blowing to witness,
Mhm.
and when the life spark isn't there.
Yeah.
But the light spark I think it's totally still around. Like,
I
it's in a dimension that we're just not part of.
I totally believe that now too.
Yeah.
Like, we're just this vessel to contain it and to live out the whatever the point of life is, like,
The lessons,
let's just do the
right?
thing that we're meant to do here, to
Yeah.
learn the
And
lessons,
learn the
right? Like,
lessons, the lessons.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, when Ian died, and also perhaps when you've experienced other losses in your life, do you feel like it's also I mean, I'm being careful with my words, invited or forced you to also look at your own mortality?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And especially when someone as young as Ian dies at 32, it's like,
Yeah.
why do I get to be 67 and he only gets to be 32? It's just not fair. It's just not fair. Um, and but it's funny because my mom was the exact opposite of Ian, where she planned her funeral. She picked the songs that the Hawaiian women were going to sing. She picked the egg salad sandwiches at Foodland down on Baratania that I had to buy. Like she did every detail of her funeral. So, and we talked at length about, if she was afraid of dying and all that. Um, and she took the fear out of dying from
Mhm.
me because
Yeah.
she wasn't afraid at all. And, yeah, so it just is, and I feel bad, for Ian because he didn't wanna die. He didn't wanna leave you, and he didn't wanna leave the kids, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Ian hit me hard, like, I had to start seeing a therapist because I could not say his name without a flood of tears.
Mhm.
And every time I'd call Leslie, who's Ian's mom, Um, we were just always in a flood of tears, always, you know? And we still are, and that's okay, and I love it actually. But, um, it's really, like, up until and what's really funny is my therapist is retiring on Ian's death anniversary.
Go figure. I see 326 everywhere, it's just
Well, it's
ridiculous,
like
yeah.
it's like Ian going, "Okay, well, you're done, Barb. You're good now. You know what? And she might as well stop on my death anniversary." So
That's wild.
it is. It is.
Yeah, so I wanna tease out a couple things that you said there. What a gift that your mom
Mm.
gave you that, just by saying that she's gonna be okay and that she was at peace with her death.
Yeah.
What a difference that was in terms of her experience and yours. You probably had some beautiful conversations together, I'm
Yeah.
imagining. Were able to say goodbye,
Yeah.
grieve together,
Yeah.
right, before she left.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, that didn't happen with Ian, and
No.
that's
And it was disappointing because I really wanted to have that. with Ian, and
Yeah.
there that door was slammed shut, like,
Slammed shut.
slammed
Yeah.
shut. But, the conversation that I did have with him about, because I wanted to record him, and
Mhm.
by that time and I had brought a dictaphone, and he was like, "Why do you wanna record me?" And I said, "Well, because you are such a good storyteller, number 1, and number 2, when you're not around anymore, your
Yeah.
brother is going to tell these stories for you, and I didn't know if you want Eric, telling your stories." And he's like, "Yeah, no, Eric will tell him to scatter my ashes in Arvada." And I went,
Yeah.
What do you mean?" He said, "I don't wanna be scattered in Arvada." And I said, "Well, where do you wanna be scattered?" And he pointed to the window, which was the Mokulua Islands that were behind him,
Yeah.
and he said, "There."
Yeah.
And I went, "Ian, does anybody know this?"
Mhm.
He said, "No." I said, "Well, okay, we can make this happen." So that was the only time we spoke of his death. That was it.
Yeah.
But boy, what an opening, because, I still have the flowers, you know, from
Mhm.
his paddle out on my
Yeah.
6 years later. So,
Yeah, I remember you coming out of his room and being like, "Emily, I found something out," because we were all just like, oh my god, dancing around this very obvious reality that he was dying, but we didn't know how to handle it
mm,
because we didn't wanna upset him, and but so this is, like, a concept I've been exploring, like, I don't know, can people embrace like someone like Ian,
yeah,
if the narrative on death were different in our society and we talked about it, like, I'm talking about it with Izzy and Theo
yeah,
now because of what's happened, and I
great.
say very frankly, like, I don't know when I'm going to die.
Mm,
I hope that it will be when I am very old and have lived a full life. But if I do die sooner, and there's a chance that that can happen too, like, here's who you would go live with. Here's how I would connect with you in spirit. Just normalizing the fact that
yeah,
death
is unknown. It's
happens and
unknown.
it's unknown, right?
Yeah.
Like, I just wonder, like, how that experience could have been different, I guess. And not in the fact that I'm not at peace and acceptance with how it has
Yeah.
gone, but I'm just thinking of, like, changing the conversation moving forward. Do you think
Yeah.
it's possible to embrace your mortality like that? And if you for someone who's young, let's say.
Yeah, look, and I think the fact that he was so young and with a young family, that was the part. I don't think he wanted to let you down, you know?
And you know what? That's crazy that you just said that because that's what a medium just told me. He said,
Mhm.
she said it. Yeah, he came through and he was like, "I'm so sorry I couldn't be there for you."
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just think that, as strong as he was, um, but he was also, you know, an atheist agnostic, right? He did not believe in anything that was beyond. So
Yeah.
for him, there was nothing to reach out to or
Right.
connect with, right?
Mhm.
And um, I think his had he been open to that, it would have been a totally different experience for him and
Mhm.
for us.
Mhm.
And but I don't fault him for the way he did it. It was so Ian, right?
Totally.
And
Yeah,
and and he deserved to do it the way he wanted to do it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I'm just trying to change a whole cultural narrative around death.
Oh, yeah, you know what? And that's
You know, like,
why
not a big feat at all.
and look, I think if parents started talking to their children when they were 7 and 9 about death and not being around and the unknowns, I think that you'd be on a really good path, right?
Right? Yeah. And, like, holding that tension of, like, you don't know what tomorrow is going to guarantee, and really, like, subconsciously, we're all kind of avoiding the end, death, pain, suffering,
Yeah.
and when you just, like, relate to it and connect to it, it gives you that much more permission to just go for it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's like where there's no
Yeah.
fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so I feel like that really was what came and correct me if I'm wrong, but, like, is that kind of what maybe consciously or subconsciously got you going when you said, "I'm gonna do this with the film?"
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny because it's not, um the movie doesn't have anything to do with Ian or anything, and, like, it has nothing to do or themes or anything, but it's more around, um, being alive and living while you're living, right? And not just going through life, going through the motions and kinda waiting to die because
Yeah,
turning 65 is very confronting, and society tells you, "Hmm, you're done. You need to now shut up and go away, and then and just we'll just wait for you to die over here. So
mhm,
we'll see you later, okay?"
yeah,
And nobody wants to hear from us. Like, it's the weirdest thing, and and ageism is alive and well and absolutely, thriving in our society.
totally.
So I think, if anything, Ian is, just helping me be heard, really.
I love that, and, like, this seems to be kind of the next evolution. I mean, along with the film.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to talk about it being along,
Yeah.
like, the full length?
Yes. 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 Yeah. So, yeah,
Yeah,
over
yeah,
the
let's
edge.
talk about that
Yeah.
really
Yeah. Yeah.
quick
Yeah.
because this
So
is really cool.
we took the short film. We had somebody reach out who wanted to make it into a feature. Um, we then we got support from Screen Australia and wrote the entire film. Enzo and I wrote it together. Again, never written a full length film. Um, and now we are trying to get it made, trying to find financing, and yeah. So it's very exciting, and um, it's got a life of its own, and
Yeah.
it's the Ian life that it's got. It's, Ian's just trundling along, pushing it along. Just, every so often I'll have a little win, and I'll go, "Oh, thank you, Ian. That's really nice."
I love it, I love it. That's so cool.
Yeah,
Just, like, the fact that you got the hit, you created the short length, now it's turning into potentially like, it's happening, right?
yeah,
Like, a full-length film, that's huge,
yeah,
that you wrote, you're producing, and you're starring
starring.
in.
Yeah,
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 like,
yeah,
that's, like, the dream for
yeah,
any actress,
yeah,
I'm sure.
yeah.
And so and then so
But
the this next
but
oh,
I'm going
sorry.
to interrupt because Ian did another really big thing for me, because I had access to this, mansion on the beach that was for sale. And I went to Enzo and said, "Look, this is going to be on the market. We have a window where we could actually shoot in this mansion for free." And within, I want to say, some ridiculous amount of time, 3 or 5 weeks, Enzo wrote a sci fi script with me starring in two roles, as myself and as my great grandmother from
Oh,
1925. And we shot the film, and it's called Resonance, and it's all about family and connection, and it's a beautiful film. But
mm,
it was a gift from Ian.
yeah,
And there's no other
no
way.
way.
It was a gift from him that said, here's this opportunity. Go, go,
Go for it, don't wait on it,
go.
go. Yeah, I love it, and I mean, that's how the universe works too, right? It's like, "You're not gonna take this, you're not gonna take the divine assignment, I'll find somebody else."
That's right. That's right.
I love it. So, I do wanna touch on this part of ageism, and because this podcast is all about, like, expressing your truth, right?
Mm,
And, like, I think our purpose, what we do evolves, but who you are really stays constant. I mean, we're in constant evolution.
yeah.
But, like, how can you just share a little bit about how you're you're kind of tackling this challenge that you've experienced in your own life
Mm,
and turning it into, the next manifestation of your purpose kind of, along with the film, but
yeah. Look, and it's crazy because, like, one day you're young, and then the next day you're not. and, and
Mhm.
all of a sudden, you're just invisible. And
Yeah.
and people and it's there's two sides to it because of being an actor, and I can go to acting classes and sit with a room of 21-year-olds, and they are my peers, and
Yeah.
they will look up to me, and I mentor, and so in that respect, AGIM is not, does not happen in that venue. But over here, in like just the regular world, where you know in the good old days, I used to be able to walk into a room and turn a few heads. Um, I can walk into a room and, like, there is nothing. There's no acknowledgement. I don't exist. I don't. There's just nothing.
Mhm.
Um, and I put a scene in the film that happened to me in real life where I was standing at a crosswalk, and the cars are going by, and they're just like nobody's stopping, and it's like, hello, and this
Yeah.
cute little girl, with her little ponytail way up high, and she's just bopping along, and the car's like, and slams on his brakes so that she can cross, and I'm going, am I invisible? Like, I didn't exist. I
Yeah.
did not, and so I put it in over the edge because it is the complete manifestation of what being invisible is, right?
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it just
Our
happens.
It's so wild. I feel like our society has it so backwards. This is I'm gonna change the narrative on death. You're changing it on ageism.
Yep,
Like,
yep.
because it's like I love the crone archetype, and I'm, like, so excited to be a crone. Like, I feel like I have some crone wisdom, but, I'm still kind of in, like, my mother era. Um, but just yeah, like the crones, the elders, there are wisdom keepers and engaging with them, learning from them and respect, like but you're right, our society just completely casts them away, and it's like we have this obsession with eternal youth
Yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah,
and that youth has the answers, and they don't. It's the
it
wise, all the wisdom is in the
all the
elders.
wisdom,
Yeah,
all the life experience and lessons and
yeah,
failures and yeah,
yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
Um, so, Barbara, when you think of I don't know, I guess mortality in the end and what do you wanna do with your life, your purpose, like, where are you headed?
Look, I mean, if I get to hang out with Ian again, like, I mean, how good is that, right?
Yeah. Do you fear your own death?
No, I don't. I don't. It's more, I think, missing experiences, or, if Sam has children, or
Mhm.
um, things I want to do with Bill. I think it's more not having those experiences, or movies I want to make, right? Um,
Right.
it's not the actual death part. Yeah,
Yeah, so the FOMO that comes with not being able to do those experiences here in the earthly realm.
yeah, yeah. And and if I was to die today, I have no regrets, like zero,
Mhm.
zero.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Um I love that. I think about dying all the time, and I tell the kids how I would come back and connect with them so that they
Yeah.
wouldn't, miss me. Although I said I'd come back as a tiger, I feel like I need something a little more, like, domestic so that they can see me, like tigers are pretty rare.
Tiger kitty, tiger kitty.
That's
And
awesome.
do they connect with Ian?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
They've ever since we've started talking about it more, they'll like, some of the stuff that they say is, like, super random. I'm like, "Yeah, that's him." Like, yeah, sure, why not? But the sea turtle story in Hawaii
yeah.
and
That was
yeah, different
amazing. That was amazing.
yeah. Yeah, different angel numbers,
Yeah.
sometime, different electronic things that will go off, so
Yep.
it's
Yep. Tick,
yep,
tick, tick. Yep.
yeah, all the signs. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Barbara, as someone with wisdom, what advice would you give to, I don't know, maybe someone out there who has fallen into their purpose, like has like this natural calling, this natural passion or talent, and they want to explore it, but they're afraid to, or what would be some advice that you could give to them to go out there and live their truth?
Yeah. Look, I think the key is to embrace your fear
Mhm.
and make friends with it and make friends with change and uncertainty because life is full of change and uncertainty. And and yeah, being held back because of fear um, is is so suffocating, and
Yeah.
it's just finding that way to, even if it's baby steps every single day, one little step that'll get you closer. Um, that's that's what you do.
Yeah. I love that. Face your fear in tiny little baby steps and embrace uncertainty.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
when it gets really uncertain and scary, connect
yeah,
to the divine.
yeah,
Connect to
yeah,
something greater, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And
and
I
I
do
just
the
added
same.
that.
Well, have you met fear? Oh yeah, fear. It's uncertainty. Hi, uncertainty, fear. Can you guys get along? Okay, okay, all right. I'll see you later. Okay,
Of
let's
course,
go. You
that's
ready
the
to
way
go?
an actress would do it, right? It's like, "Let's create a scene and a whole little what is Fear wearing today?" And yeah,
Right.
that's good. I love it. Well, Barbara, where can people, like, contact you, learn more about you?
Yeah, look, probably the easiest place is either my website, barbarabingham.com, or on Instagram, where I am Barbara Bingham, Ming it up. So Barbara Bingham
We'll link
it up.
it.
Yeah.
So good. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. I know that
Oh,
we're
thank
both
you.
making Ian so proud, and yeah, thank you just for everything else that you've done for my family and me.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that we've been able to maintain a connection through it all because that's not
And
true for everyone. So
no, no. And I am so proud of you. Like I'm so proud of you. And I know how proud Ian is too. Like he's just going, go Em. Like it's amazing to see how you've evolved these last 6 years.
yeah,
And it's been a
different
lot.
person.
Yeah, it's been a lot. So I'm really, really,
Yeah.
really proud of you.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Sometimes I wish Ian could meet the version of me today, but
He has. He
one
does.
day up there, one day or wherever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Auntie Barbara, so
All right.
much.
I love you.
Thank you so much for listening in to It's Just Me, Emily. I hope that you enjoyed the show. If you did, it would be a great honor if you could subscribe and then leave a review. And if you do so, I will send you a beautiful hardback copy of my book, Love and Grief, to the first 20 people who subscribe and leave a review. When you do that, it just helps my podcast get boosted and more people will be able to come in and view the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you in another episode.